Hello, friends, and welcome once again. This is Syracuse Basketball Postgame presented by Krause Health, the exclusive healthcare partner for Syracuse Athletics. My name is Brent Axe. Syracuse loses to North Carolina. Your final score at the JMA Wireless Dome, 88-82. And once again, poor defense, poor decision-making, and finding ways to lose cost Syracuse as they fall to 11-15 on the season, 5-10 in the ACC, and the only beacon over the hill for this year. We've talked a lot about the beacon over the hill for next year, but the only beacon over the hill that remains for this team is making the ACC tournament. They are a bubble team for the ACC tournament. As remember, not every team in the ACC makes it. 3 will get left behind, and that's basically what Syracuse has left to fight for with 5 games remaining in the regular season. Don't be one of the 3 left out of the ACC tournament. That's it. That's the list. So if that's what gets you by here the next couple of weeks and over these 5 games, with Syracuse being a bubble team, that was a common theme when Syracuse was a bubble team trying to make the NCAA tournament in the later years of the Jim Boeheim era, right? If it really juices you up to say, hey, we're a bubble team, then I guess you go with that. But pretty sad that that's the state of things right now as Syracuse slides 4 games below 500. So we'll talk about this matchup and just kind of how uninspiring it is to be following this basketball team right now. Frankly, that's not an indictment on the effort of these players. They did play hard down the stretch. They tried to come back. North Carolina, you kind of go through it. So they come out of halftime. They're up 42-34. North Carolina never trailed in this game, by the way, but North Carolina goes up by 11 early in the first half. Syracuse does fight back. I mean, JJ Starling tried to take over this game on his own. He ends up with 22 points. Eddie Lampkin, another terrific game. He has been on such a hot streak. He's battling. He's getting double-doubles. He's the leading scorer in this game with 26 points, and these incredible efforts from a now, as you could tell, healthy Eddie Lampkin. Those back issues I think he was having earlier in the year were maybe pronounced, if you will. He's healthy. He's moving well. I mean, Eddie's got some flaws in his game, as we've discussed. You take the good with the bad, but come on, that dude's dropping 26 tonight on North Carolina, dropping double-doubles when you're getting 26 and 11 out of Eddie Lampkin in 34 minutes, and it's just all going for naught. That's a shame. Offense is not this team's problem right now, though I think they could certainly distribute the ball a little bit more and spread the wealth a little bit, but they can score. That is not the issue with this team. They are so poor defensively and so unorganized in the clutch moments and are coached so poorly in the clutch moments that it's costing you in these games. This would have been the highlight win of the year. I mean, North Carolina is certainly not what it used to be. This year, they are a bubble team themselves. It's been wild. Chris Carlson and I talked about this on our live pod on Thursday. The ride they have had under Hubert Davis. They make the national championship game in 2021. They missed the tournament the next year. Sweet 16, and Hubert Davis is the coach of the year last year. But now on the brink of missing the tournament. Certainly if they had lost to Syracuse tonight, it probably would have popped their bubble to get in. And he's on as hot of a seat as you can get because they have those expectations at North Carolina. You can go from coach of the year to on the hot seat. Apparently some well-funded boosters at North Carolina would like to see them move on from Hubert Davis. Meanwhile, in Syracuse, we're like, we're on the bubble too for the ACC tournament, right? But Syracuse did tie the game. It ends up being 62-62. Ian Jackson, who was a high school teammate of Elijah Moore, had 23 points in this game overall. He hits a 3. Then Carolina ends up going up back by 11. Syracuse fights down the stretch, but a 3-pointer by R.J. Davis that made it a 78-68 game. You kind of felt like that was the dagger. Syracuse kept fighting down the stretch, getting to the free throw line. They actually got within 2. But then Carolina responds, and it again, the decision-making on this team, I mean, look, I have been as big of an advocate for Kyle Cuff to be out there in key moments. You can't take that three-pointer. You cannot take that three-pointer late in the game. He's smarter than that. That's not coaching. The coaches have told these players, just because you have an open shot doesn't mean it's a good shot. You got to drive. You got to, I mean, that's just not a shot. And Kyle Cuff is not the guy that should be taking that shot in that moment. He played 7 minutes. He doesn't score. He goes 0 of 5 from the field. He got blocked a couple of times. Jaquan Carlos, again, plays 30, what was it? Give me a sec to find it here, guys. 32 minutes. He scores 3 points. He goes 1 of 7. He dished out 7 assists, which, fine. I mean, your point guard should be dishing out assists, but he is such a defensive liability. I'm just talking about the player now, okay? It's not personal. This is just a basketball analysis, but he just keeps getting dusted out there. And in a huge play down the stretch where North Carolina was just able to go right to the hoop, right past Carlos. I mean, it's the Olay defense. This team, which is second to worst in the ACC in terms of scoring defense, yet another team. If the opponent scores 75 points, game, set, match, they're going to lose, right? And again, scoring is not the problem for Syracuse. They're scoring enough to be competitive in these games. If you could play a lick of defense, and Syracuse played zone, they played man, they mixed it up a little bit tonight. The zone was successful at times, but if you could play a lick of defense and get on the same page, and we're talking about a team that has 5 games left in the regular season and are still not on the same page defensively, you could play a lick of defense. You win a game or two more like this, and you're not 4 games below 500. So it's deflating when you know they're going to find a way to lose, and they cannot make enough stops to take advantage of the fact that you have an Eddie Lampkin scoring at will in the paint. JJ Starling, I want to talk about JJ for a minute here because, look, JJ is the leader of this team. JJ should be the go-to guy in certain moments. He's not the best three-point shooter. What's he shooting? 28%, 29% from three right now. I love the effort that JJ put forth in the second half. He got into foul trouble early in the game, something that Hubert Davis said they wanted to do. They wanted to get JJ in foul trouble and take advantage of when he was not on the floor in the first half. Red Autry did stick with him for a little bit after he got those 2 fouls before he just had to sit him, and they switched up some defense, and they were planning on doing that. JJ, it's kind of the proverbial half glass full, half glass empty kind of thing, right? I love the effort that JJ puts forth, but when he goes into Mamba mode, he misses open guys. He tends to just shut out the world and think, I've got to take this game over. I love the mentality. I love the energy. I love that someone's trying to take control of the game, and JJ is the one that they point to do that. But, man, there are times when he has blinders on and just doesn't see other people that are open. He takes bad shots. He forces things. His decision-making becomes questionable. So you got to like that JJ gave you 22 points. It took 6 of 16 shooting. He didn't hit a 3. He got to the free throw line 10 times. JJ, 10 of 10 from the free throw line. Okay? You will take that because JJ's missed some free throws in clutch spots this year. Just go back to the triple overtime game against Boston College and other moments this year. And to do that in 29 minutes, I'll take that because someone has got to flex their muscles down the stretch. But, man, sometimes he just gets in that mode and he misses things, right? You got to be smarter than that, especially as a veteran player. I get he's trying to spark his team, but JJ's just got to crank it, and you hate to tell a player to crank it down a notch because you don't want to put that in their head, but he needs to. You can play hard, but play smart. And I don't think he was playing very smart at times in the second half. I'll take the effort. I'll take the points. I'll take everything. And by and large, I love how JJ plays. I love how JJ stands up in the locker room and always has something to say about the game that I think is intelligent and something a leader would say. I didn't get a chance to talk to him tonight, but he's got to be smarter when he gets into Mamba mode like that. I mean, what more can you say about Eddie Lampkin? 26 points, 11 rebounds. We were having a spirited conversation before the game with, oh boy, he's going to hate me because I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head. Shout out to our guy who drives to pretty much every game from Philly, right? And he, let's just say, wasn't as big of a fan as Eddie Lampkin as I think he said something like, "When are you wouldn't?" He was joshing, to use an old term, Mike Watterson. I said, "When are you going to write about Eddie Lampkin doing this and doing that?" And Mike and I are looking at each other like, "Have you been watching Eddie Lampkin in the past 4 or 5 games? He's been the reason they've been in these games, right?" Can Eddie be better at certain things? Can Eddie be better defensively? Can Eddie be better and use the glass more and not dribble so much in some of these things? Of course. Dude at 26 and 11 tonight. and not in the same way that I was talking about JJ, that you look at 22 points, but you'll look closer. Now, some would haggle with me when Syracuse was in the zone and Naheem McLeod was in the middle of that zone and they were having some success, and maybe Syracuse should have went big, stuck with Naheem a little longer, tried to get some defensive stops, tried to get some possessions going the other way. Naheem only ends up playing 5 minutes in this game. You can sell me on that. I'm not going to push back hard on that. Some of our Syracuse Sports Insiders, and let's put it up there so you guys know how to become Syracuse Sports Insiders, so you can text me before games, during games, after games, anytime. Your insight, your analysis, your great questions and comments on all matters of Syracuse sports. A lot of insiders were texting that. Why take out Naheem? And Adrian Autry was asked about it after the game. I want to play an Autry clip here in a second. His opening statement from the presser coming up here. You can sell me on that, right? Maybe Eddie doesn't have to. What did Eddie end up playing tonight? I said it a moment ago, but 30. Maybe you don't have to play 34 minutes. You certainly want Eddie in the game in the clutch moments. You certainly want Eddie down the stretch. You can sell me on giving Naheem 10 to 11 more minutes, and maybe not 10 to 11 more minutes, but 10 to 11 minutes total, and keeping him in there defensively, being longer out there. You can totally talk me into that, but what more can you ask for Eddie Lampkin right now? And it's being wasted in these losses where this team just finds ways to lose down the stretch, right? So that's deflating. You know what else is deflating? When your head coach comes to the post-game press conference, and I can't even tell if you won or lost.
In certain situations, when we needed to get a stop, we didn't get the stop. I thought that was the kind of thing, offensive rebounds where we needed to get them, we didn't get them. I think some costly turnovers, even though we only had 10, just thought we had a couple late down the stretch that were big. But, I give my guys credit, they battled, we were down and came back and made the game. And we just got to, clean up some stuff, keep working hard, and move forward, and just keep working and really trying to continue to develop and do things that we need to do to win. Again, rebounding, I thought today, rebounding, especially late, was the difference. They got a couple of extra possessions, and then a couple of things late. When you're down, forgot how many we were down. We typically, we talk about driving the ball until we have to shoot three. I think Kyle got to steal, and Kyle shot a three. And not singling him out, but those are the type of things that you got to do what you're told and what we're coaching. And at that point, you're going to put pressure on the rim. But that's just one thing. But again, these guys battled. There's no more victories here. They're disappointed. I'm very disappointed. I think everyone's disappointed. But we just have to get ready tomorrow, practice, get prepared, and get ready for the next game, and try to clean the things up that we need to clean up.
Oh, we're back? Are we here? I mean, come on, man. Is that a coach that's talking after an exhibition game or a 6-point loss to a blue blood ACC program late in the year? I mean, the same tired cliches. We're going to watch tape. Come on, man. I'm not telling Adrian Autry to be somebody he's not. I don't want a phony in that room, but that's what you do at the podium afterwards. I wasn't always a fan of how Jim Boeheim treated people in his post-game press conferences, but at least I knew he was pissed. At least I knew he was competitive. At least I knew he certainly wore his heart on his sleeve. What is that, right? I'm sitting there like, did you just lose this game? Did we just watch the same game? Now, Red got passionate on the sideline at times. There was an exchange with Kyle Cuff Jr. after that dumb shot it was a dumb shot. You got to call it like it is, right? There was not a lack of that passion on the court tonight. But then he comes into these press conferences and just la-di-das his way through it. I mean, I think you need a little more. I think you got to send a message to not only your team, but your fan base that you give a crap. And I know that you do. I'm not questioning that. But, man, that's the melancholy message we get after a loss like that. I mean, but again, that's just kind of this team. They find ways to lose. They're not inspiring. They don't play deep. I mean, they play hard. That's the thing. He was right when he said that, right? They do battle. They do play hard. It's not a lack of effort. It's just a lack of talent. It's a lack of defense. It's a lack of court awareness. There is a lot of things lacking. What they don't lack is effort. They do play hard. And I guess I'll give you credit for that. I think you're kind of supposed to play hard at the Division I ACC level, but that's not the problem on this team. They don't lay over and die. They're not talented enough. They're frankly not smart enough at times. Collectively, they're not getting the right guidance, and they just kind of swerve their way into losses like they did once again tonight. So what you're playing for now, and you'll see some of these quotes in my overheard column that comes out on after Syracuse basketball games. In this case, it'll be out Sunday morning. I asked a bunch of guys in the locker room, like, so are you just playing for the ACC tournament now? I mean, that's literally the only thing they're playing for, but what's that approach, right? And I appreciated the honesty, especially from Lucas Taylor and Eddie Lampkin. You'll see those full quotes up on syracuse.com tomorrow, not to plug something to read, but I appreciated their honesty. Like, yeah, we got to take this one game at a time, but we've thought about that as a team. We've got to get in that tournament and give ourselves a chance, right? But that's what you're playing for at this point, just to basically avoid the embarrassment of being left out of the ACC tournament. That's what you got left, starting with Pittsburgh Tuesday night. See what our Syracuse Sports Insiders had to say about this one. Couple shout-outs. Shout out to my guy Ben, who comes up every year from Charlotte with his son. Got to meet Ben at the Dome tonight. Shout out to number one, my guy Evan, the first Syracuse Sports Insider, our first person to sign up. Had a great conversation with Evan before the game. And shout out to the fans that are still showing up despite everything we're talking about here. They announced 22,340 for this game. I would like to stress the word announced. They announced it as the second biggest crowd of the year behind North Carolina. Again, I'd like to stress the word announced. Now, we're actually having winter here in central New York, believe it or not. I don't think it's let up since Christmas. The roads were kind of crappy, and it was a winter's day that might have deterred some people from coming, so I want to be fair about that. It wasn't like a huge snowstorm, but when the roads are slick like that, and Valentine's Day weekend, and I know I'm just making excuses at this point, but the main point being there were not 22,000 people in that building. There were not 23,000 people at the Duke game either, right? You can announce whatever crowd you want. And frankly, I felt the crowd could have been better. If you're there, if you've made the effort, if you've slipped and slide and trudged your way up the hill, slipping and sliding in the wind, in the cold, and you're in the building. Now, again, it's on the team to inspire you, but man, there are times when I think that crowd could have rattled North Carolina more. I mean, 16,000 people, which is about what that crowd really was tonight, can be loud and can make a difference. And I get that fans are watching this team and looking for some sort of spark or some sort of inspiration and kind of know the product that they've been watching. But sometimes as a fan, you got to step up. Sometimes as a fan, now maybe Syracuse could have helped the cause. I don't know if you guys saw the World Cup hockey, USA, Canada. They dropped the gloves. There was 3 fights in 9 seconds to start that game. I'm not saying that's what Syracuse should do, but I don't know, man. The crowd, I think, the crowds can be better. You don't need to, sometimes you can just get going. And God forbid that I would ever do this because #ban the wave. I don't know if that's what it takes to get you people to get up and get into the game a little bit more sometimes. Do the darn wave. I don't care, right? So I think the crowd could have been better too. I'm not putting it on you guys fully, but there were a few times where this game was close, and sometimes you need that edge. That's why you have a home court advantage, right? Which was there at the end, but wasn't there enough tonight. So shout out to our insiders that we met and the great fans that have been trudging up there game after game, especially people from Philly and out of town. I mean, you guys are awesome, and you deserve more praise than scorn, if you will. But I feel like the crowd has to be jostled out of their seat a little bit too much at these games. If you're there, you might as well get into the thing, right? That's all I'm saying. All right. Speaking of fans, our insiders. Brian says we're so bad that we're on the ACC tournament bubble. Jake M says the last time Syracuse was this bad was 1968-69, 9-17 record. Man had yet to step foot on the moon. Let that sink in. From Gabe, who says also at least pitchers and catchers reported to spring training this week. This SU team is not getting me through the winter. Lacey notes, before the game started, I said to Brian, shout out to Lacey and Brian, Syracuse is on ESPN tonight. That means an automatic loss. Syracuse was on ESPN for a half because the Auburn-Alabama game, and how about that? Auburn and Alabama, 1-2 in basketball because the SEC has all that sweet NIL money, locking down players, bringing back players not only out of the portal, but getting people to stay because you make more money coming back to Auburn than, say, trying to be a second-round draft pick. That's where we're at in college sports today. Lacey brought that up. So let me update my ledger here. So Uncle Brent keeps a ledger, if you could read my chicken scratch here. So this is Syracuse's record on ESPN or a broadcast network in the last 4 seasons. That's now 6-17. They are 6-17, and they have lost on ESPN or a broadcast network. So we're talking about Fox, ABC, something like that. I don't include ESPN2 or the ACC network on this. We're talking about these are your big prime audiences, right? Which, again, they lost a whole half of because that Auburn-Alabama game didn't even get over until 6:49. I don't know why ESPN thinks they can schedule these things in 2-hour blocks and get the games in, but what do I know? They're 6-17. They have lost 3 in a row. 3 in a row. But they have lost, let's see here. Give me a sec to go over my notes here, guys. They have lost 5 of their last 6 games on either ESPN or a broadcast network. So they're 6-17 now in the last 4 seasons on their biggest, in front of their biggest television audiences. Let's put it that way. Mark B says, on a terrible Syracuse team, Eddie, being Eddie Lampkin, of course, has been playing great and is a good, not great 44, no matter the protests of, and he says DC means Derek Coleman, another double-double for Big Eddie. Mike C. referenced that as well. That was on your mind tonight. Derek Coleman owes a huge apology to Eddie Lampkin. He's been huge these past few games. His back issues earlier in the season must have been more serious than was let on. From Brian C., who says, I don't have a lot of issues with the heart and effort that this team played with tonight, especially Eddie and JJ. What was disappointing was the crowd. I was just talking about that. And it just didn't seem like they really got behind the team at all until the end. From Jack H., who says, close game, could have won it, yada, yada. Jaquan Carlos can't be in this game on defense at that point, plain and simple. Autry's bad decisions lose the game yet again. And then the end-of-game execution, he labels it putrid. Look, Carlos is a liability on top of a liability defensively. And he didn't make up for it on the offensive end. He had 7 assists. Good for him. Doesn't mean he should be out there that long. Now, I'll be fair here. What's the alternative? Because you got Kyle Cuff out there, and he's throwing up bad threes. He's getting blocked in the paint. He's a better free throw shooter. He's a better three-point shooter. He's a better defender than Carlos, but he's still 6 feet. And you got Carolina. You got R.J. Davis, Jackson, who had a great game. But then you have guys like Withers, okay? Jalen Withers had a season high of 11 points coming into this game. He drops 19 on you, including 3 3-pointers. Back to the tradition of random dude dropping 3-pointers on Syracuse with the poorest defense that this team plays. Carlos can't be out there, but man, who can be at this point, right? That's going to make up for the faults defensively. It's almost by default he's got to be out there. Now, Elijah Moore only played 8 minutes in this game. Now, Red Autry was asked after the game by Mike Waters if Elijah Moore's hurt, and that contributed to the fact he only played 8 minutes, didn't score in this game. Autry said, no, he's not hurt, coach's decision. Now, I've heard he's got a bit of a toe issue going on, so I don't know if that factored into it, but see, he's bad defensively too. So you're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul. So we're all saying Carlos can't be out there. Carlos can't be out there. And I'm not going to disagree with you, but who should be out there for him in that spot? Because they're all bad defensively. Unfortunately, that's just the case. Maddie P says, one positive is my blood pressure doesn't spike when we lose anymore. Got to take the good with the bad, right? Mahir says, I admire the fight on this team. Still sucks to lose, but admire the fight. I think this game summed up everything this season. These guys are not bad players by any stretch, but their best just isn't good enough in this league. Combine that with low IQ, lack of fundamentals and defense, and this is your result. It was a great game, though. In this league, by the way, a down ACC, one of the more down ACCs I've ever seen in my life. Steve says, Brent, sitting here watching clips of the glory days. So they'll pass you by, glory days. Right, Bruce? There he is. On YouTube with my son and his girlfriend. Poor girl has to suffer through this season as well after yet another loss. You've been driven to YouTube to get a good feeling about Syracuse basketball. Speaking of which, Steve, shout out to Vinny in Omaha. My guy, he's out there. He's in Cornhusker country as a Syracuse fan, trying to find his way through. And I don't know how many Syracuse fans are out there to help you out there. But listen, we got Syracuse fans all over the country. That's one of the great things about our Syracuse Sports Insiders and the connection that we've made with our insiders. And they follow us from all over the place. It's incredible to hear from Syracuse fans all over the country. In some cases, and you're going to think I'm exaggerating here, I'm not. In some cases, all over the world. All over the world. We have people that check in, not only that are international. I've had a bunch of you text me today, and I'm insanely jealous of you, by the way. Brent, thanks for the updates. I am sitting on the beach in Mexico drinking margaritas. I had somebody texting from Costa Rica today saying I shouldn't be paying attention right now because I'm on the beach in Costa Rica, but thanks for the update. Shout out to my guy Frankie. He's down at Disney right now. Like, you guys, enjoy the sun. Have a good time, right? But they're fans. They got to know what's going on. If that was me, my phone would be in the hotel room. I wouldn't care. But you guys care, and that's what I'm here for. As I have to go out and go scrape more ice off the sidewalk. Have fun in Costa Rica. But shout out to Vinny. He's in Omaha. My guy. Surrounded by all those Cornhusker fans. Robbie T says, next season has always been the beacon over the hill. As I've been saying. Today, we saw some mistakes that you don't want to see that Red made for sure as well. His team was always lacking a key component. It only got worse when JJ got hurt and then Donnie. However, I credit both the coaches and the players for not giving up on this season, and they still haven't. And Robbie T ends it with hashtag I stand with Red. So we'll end on somewhat of a positive note. Robbie T's sticking with the coaching staff, sticking with the players. And look, they're getting credit for a lot of things that are just kind of baked into the cake. You're supposed to play hard, right? You're not supposed to give up on the season. But you still have a coach. I just played the clip that, again, I appreciate that he understands when you're in front of the microphones and the cameras. Maybe you have to give a little coach speak, and you don't want to come in there and look. Let me put it to you this way: I appreciate that he's not Mick Cronin or Dan Hurley, as entertaining as those two are, right? But you can be Rick Pitino. Pitino is honest in his pressers. He's engaging in his pressers. He's been around for a long time. He knows how to work the media a little bit, but I learn things. I hear basketball. I hear passion. I know if they won or lost. I mean, Red's just going through the motions at this point. He really is. I need more than that. And I'm thinking in terms of you guys. Don't you need more than that after a loss like that? Of course he's upset about it. I'm not saying he's not upset about the loss. And I brought it up earlier. He was certainly passionate on the sideline, but man, I'm sitting right in front of him and I'm like, did you win or lose this game? But that's just kind of where we're at, right? It's 5 games to go. I think everybody's just kind of in that let's get this over with mode and see if they make the ACC tournament. And then the real juice will kick in when the portal opens and they try to restock this thing. I mean, that's just kind of where we're at, right? But there are 5 games to go. And we're going to be on those games for you because you want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. And I will be on that wall for you. Unfortunately, the lacrosse team dropped one in Maryland today. If you saw that earlier, busy day. The women's team beat Maryland in a top 7 matchup. The men's team lost 11-7 to Maryland. Tough defense. Maryland shut down that prolific Syracuse offense in the second half, outscoring Syracuse. Sorry, doing math, not my best thing. But Syracuse only scored 2 goals in the second half. Maryland scored, what they outscore Syracuse? I think it was 7-2 in the second half. Might be off by 1 or 2 goals there. Disciplined team. Face-offs were even. I mean, they just lost. They just lost to a good team, a team that's beaten Syracuse 7 times in a row, by the way. So one of those challenges, maybe Syracuse was getting a little too, high on their own supply, if you will. I mean, they had shot out of a cannon 3-0 and had outscored Vermont, Jacksonville, and Towson. What was it, 57-15, something crazy like that? But somebody punched him in the mouth a little bit today. It's going to happen. Syracuse is a tough schedule. Maryland is a disciplined, grinded-out type of team. That's not always the best matchup for Syracuse. I know I'm rattling off lacrosse takes now, but I felt like they got a little too cute in the first half with some of that behind-the-back stuff that they do, and I like that Syracuse plays free and they play fun, but sometimes you just got to take the high percentage shot and not the behind the back, or get too cute against a team like Maryland that'll make you pay, especially one of the best goaltenders in the country. But the thing is, the lacrosse team almost took the baton from the basketball team as that thing that's going to get us through the winter, and even they lost today. So sports, what can I tell you, right? Anyway, we'll be on that wall as we come down the home stretch. 5 games to go for basketball, and all the things that you'll be following and that will be on for you. It'll be spring football practice before you know it. That starts in about a month. The portal, lacrosse, all the unforeseen things. We'll be on it for you here on Syracuse Sports and on the Syracuse Sports Insider text line. So sign up today. Join subtext.com/Syracuse Sports. It's right there on your screen. You could try it free for 2 weeks. It's just $3.99 a month after that. Come on, less than $1 a week to text me anytime. Your takes, your opinions, your questions, your comments, what you want me to ask Syracuse players and coaches, and just want to shoot the breeze, talk SU Sports, shoot me a text. It's that easy. Come on. And it's not a group text, right? Sometimes that group text can get out of hand. Sometimes they're pretty darn entertaining, don't get me wrong, right? But it's like the outside group text that starts about the group text, that's the Syracuse Sports Insider text line. So we would love for you to join that today. Okay. Syracuse loses to North Carolina. 88-82 was your final. The Orange are 11-15, 5-10 now in ACC play, as they just kind of check the boxes and head down the home stretch and hopefully avoid being left out of the ACC tournament. That's what they got left to play for at this point. Sadly, that's just kind of what's left on the slate for basketball. And we'll be on it here on Syracuse Basketball Postgame. Thanks for hanging with us live. I would encourage you to sign up, follow, subscribe, whatever the case may be, depending on what service you use, wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Amazon. Make sure you subscribe to Syracuse Sports, so when a new episode pops up, you can listen on demand when you want. But we'll be here live doing post-game shows down the stretch the rest of the season. Next post-game show comes your way Tuesday night after Syracuse takes on Pitt, a team they lost to at the Dome by 4 earlier in the year. So if they can go down to the Peterson Event Center and grab a win there. There was one more thing. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to mention before we go. Shout out to Tyus Battle and Elijah Hughes, who were at the Dome tonight. Did you see Elijah Hughes had another, this one was a little shorter than his 3/4 court shot against Duke back in the day, but he's killing it in the G League, and he had another huge shot. It wasn't a big shot in terms of win or loss. It was right before halftime, but chucked it from well beyond half court, dropped it in, kind of reminded us of, remember that shot he had against Duke back in the day, Tyus Battle. Some great buzzer beater shots for Syracuse, including in a win over Duke back in the day. Wasn't that long ago, guys. Feels like a decade ago, but wasn't that long ago when those guys were killing it here at Syracuse. It was nice to see them in the crowd at the JMA Wireless Dome tonight and in the locker room afterwards. So shout out to them. Okay, we got to go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging. We will talk to you again Tuesday night after Syracuse takes on Pittsburgh. This has been Syracuse Basketball Postgame presented by Krause Health, the exclusive healthcare partner for Syracuse Athletics. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Thanks for hanging.